Today's Tuesday, and that can only mean one thing. Trick or treat. Nah, just kidding, not that. Trade deadline? A little bit of that. But it's Takeaway Tuesday, and we're going to talk about all of my picks from last Thursday for Week 8 of the NFL season. We're going to see what I got right, what I got wrong, talk a little stats, break down the trade deadline, and then we're going to go eat some candy. Trick or treat, y'all. It's Takeaway Tuesday. And we're back, everybody. Welcome back into Takeaway Tuesday on this beautiful Halloween. Here in Denver, it's sunny but still chilly. Around trick-or-treat time, it's supposed to be like 35 degrees, so it's going to be a chilly night for sure. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk trade deadline, and we're here to talk about the results of each and every game from last week that I put my predictions out for. And now we got to see if I was right, if I was wrong. Did I do better this week than last week? Only time will tell. Let's talk a little bit about the trade deadline. There weren't as many big moves as I think most people kind of expected to have happen. Dobbs going from the Cardinals up to the Vikings, I would guess, to fill in that void for Kirk Cousins and his Achilles injury. We obviously wish him a speedy recovery. And if I were him, I would go and talk to Aaron Rodgers a little bit is what I would do, because Aaron Rodgers obviously has all the solutions in the bag. Dude was doing 3-step drops this weekend, throwing some passes. It's looking good. It's going fast. I think he said today on the McAfee show that he's 7 weeks out from his surgery. And, man, that recovery it's impressive. The Lions add Donovan Peoples-Jones to their backfield. I don't know that was entirely necessary, as they still look pretty stacked with or without him. But why not pad the stats just a little bit? The Commanders seem to have fire-sailed off a decent chunk of players with Montez Sweat going to the Bears, Chase Young going to the 49ers. And you know what, man? Sweat to the Bears doesn't make a whole ton of sense for the Bears or for anybody. I think they were just trying to get rid of Sweat because his deal's about to come up at the end of the season, and they can't afford to keep him and Young at the same time. But they got rid of Young, so apparently it doesn't even matter. And then I'd hate to have to play against that 49ers defense right now with Bosa and Young. That's gonna be disgusting. And then the Packers shipped Rasul Douglas up to the Buffalo Bills for a third-round pick. As a Packers fan, I don't know what or why that would need to happen. I don't think that our defense needs to be picked apart when our offense is lacking and our defense is keeping us in these games, even when we probably shouldn't be in them any longer. But what do I know? Those are really the bigger shots coming out of today. Obviously, Bayard went up to Philly from the Titans a couple days ago. The Giants had a move a couple days ago, but those are in the past. Today was the deadline, and it just felt kind of dry to me, to be completely honest with you. But coming out of that, let's talk this week's games starting right now. Let's start off with the Bucks and the Bills for the Thursday night game. It was a pretty good game. Josh Allen kind of once again shows that he is just willing to throw that ball down the field at all costs. Also ended up being their leading rusher for the endeavor. Gabe Davis looking really good. You can never really write out Baker, though. Baker looked really good. 25 for 42, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. They're starting to look, I don't know, they feel pretty mid to me still. But it's good to see Baker actually kind of fitting into a system, keeping rolling, just building up. Maybe he finally found a home, and it wasn't the other 2 places he's been or the other 3 places he's been. He kind of felt like a misfit toy for a minute, and this kind of looks like an actual fit for him, which is nice. Josh Allen, 31 for 40, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Like I said, he can be kind of reckless at times, but there's no doubt that team still has a ton of momentum. I still feel like maybe their chances at the Lombardi Trophy might be behind them, but I don't know that I would write them off from making that postseason push once again and ending up somewhere possibly like Kansas City and having to deal with that all over again. The Bills pull it off 24-18, making me 1-0, baby. 1-0. It's good to get off to a hot start this week. I feel like last week I probably didn't get off to that hot start. But 1-0 this week, I assure you, it will not last very long, as the next game we're going to talk about is Vikings at Packers. This game went exactly how I feared it would go. I biasly chose the Packers. It's tough to vote against your own team when it comes to who's going to win, who's going to lose, just doing it pick'em style. But Jordan Love kind of once again looked more like a backup than a starter. It's just foggy. He's not all there, and he makes these weird decisions to throw the ball into triple coverage and get it picked. He went 24 for 41, a touchdown and an interception, 229 pass yards. Kirk Cousins went 23 for 31, 2 touchdowns, and 274 pass yards before going out with what at the time they feared was a torn Achilles. It has since been confirmed that he has torn his Achilles and he will miss the remainder of the year. We obviously wish the best to Kirk Cousins. Hopefully his recovery goes as swellingly as Aaron Rodgers. His recovery is obviously advanced and crazy, but hopefully everything goes well. The running game was weak. Cam Akers, 19 yards on 9 attempts and a touchdown. Jordan Love had 4 attempts for 34 yards. I don't know what the Packers are doing run game wise. Aaron Jones seems to be absent at all times. Touches the ball 3-4 times a game. They're giving the primary workload to A.J. Dillon, who is not the number one back by any stretch, and I don't trust that decision at all. I like Dillon, but I like the 1-2 tandem with Jones carrying the load and then the power back of A.J. Dillon, and that does not seem to be happening. Packers lose 24-10. I go 1-1. Start is pretty even, you know. Up to the next one, Rams at Cardinals. Rams at Cowboys, not Cardinals. And that game, I called the Cowboys. That's going to be a dub for me. Cowboys win 43-20. Stafford left with a thumb injury partway through that game. Before that, 13 for 22, a touchdown, interception, 162 pass yards. Dak, 25 for 31, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 304 yards. Those Cowboys are starting to look intimidating. And this week when they face the Eagles, I think we'll all kind of see where that Cowboys team really sits. But Pollard, 53 yards, not the biggest day for him. CeeDee Lamb looking ridiculous. 12 receptions, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb looking phenomenal. Ridiculous in a good way. Absolutely ridiculous. They just outperformed the Rams altogether, 43-20. On to the Falcons at the Titans. I lose this one to go 2-2 as I called the Falcons, and the Falcons lost to Will Levis in his very first start. Levis looked incredible. I bet Colts fans are wishing they got that guy now, because it looked like he was going to be the guy, and now he should have been. That man went for 4 touchdowns, 19 for 29, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 238 pass yards. That is incredible. Heineke played predominantly for the Falcons, 12 for 21, a touchdown, 175 yards. The Falcons, I don't know. Every time I think that the Falcons are going to be great, they end up kind of falling off, and it's just not. It's not what you want it to be. Sorry, had to deal with my child there real quick. That's not going to look like probably a lot to you guys, but there is definitely a little something there. I just paused and then had to continue. Onward, though. The Falcons, I just don't know, man. I felt like they were starting to kind of build. It looked like, Pitts and London were kind of coming together. I still didn't have a ton of faith in Ritter. I think Heineke is going to bring a lot of energy to their team. I just don't know. I think they're going to end up more mid than everybody probably expected of them. I do lose that one. I picked Falcons over Titans. Titans won 28-23 for the final. On to the next game. Saints at Colts. I actually lose that one as well. I called Colts over Saints because the Saints had looked pretty dusky up until this point. not necessarily kind of what you would have expected out of a roster that looks as stacked as they do, and they showed up and proved me wrong this week. Derek Carr going 19 for 27, 2 touchdowns and 310 passing yards versus Gardner Minshew, who went 23 for 41, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and 213 pass yards. Taysom Hill led the rushing game. It's kind of surprising. I thought Kamara was going to do that, but Kamara still had one heck of a day. I played fantasy football against a guy who had Kamara, and that he still racked up like 20 fantasy points, something like that. Pittman, good to see get a touchdown again for the Colts. Nothing compared to Shaheed over in New Orleans with 3 receptions for 153 yards and a touchdown. That guy had a day for sure. Didn't seem like a ton of workload, but got the numbers done for sure. The Saints win that game 38-27. I lose that one to go 2-3 at this point in time. On to the next one. Patriots at Dolphins. I get this one back to come back to the 3-3 record. The Dolphins beat the Patriots 31-17. I thought Mac Jones was definitely going to get traded today, or something would come out of that. Mac just still doesn't seem to be their guy. It's a franchise that's so used to the dominating win cycle, the Tom Brady mentality, the Patriot mentality, and it just doesn't seem to be happening for them. We're on the other side of the ball. Tua Tagovailoa going absolutely all out, 30 for 45, 324 pass yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. Mac Jones only went 19 for 29, 2 touchdowns, an interception, 160 yards. Tua just outmatched, outplayed, and they continue to show that they are an amazing team, prepared to make a postseason push. Excuse me. So yeah, I lose that one. I won that one, 31-17. Going 3-3. Jets, Giants. I'm not even going to go into the stats because I know for a fact that game was not even going to be worth watching at this point in time. I thought that the Jets were going to roll them. That did not happen. That game was way closer than it should have been. The Jets end up winning in overtime, 13-10, and I win that one to go 4-3. Great, the Jets are going to do everything they possibly can right now to keep their head above water just long enough for the Mac Daddy Aaron Rodgers to show back up and give them that postseason push. And like I said, if you're watching his pregame, Aaron Rodgers is 3-step dropping and throwing passes again. He's not running. He's wearing special shoes and stuff like that. But it's all progress that you wouldn't think would be happening at this point in time, or at least at this speed. It's incredible, and I look forward to seeing where it goes from here. Jets beat the Giants 13-10. On to Jags at Steelers. I lose this one to go 4-4 as the Jags beat the Steelers 20-10. The Jags looking incredible for the most part. They went into Pittsburgh in the Pittsburgh weather and played roughneck Pittsburgh football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a gritty win for sure. Trevor Lawrence looking pretty good, 24 for 32, a touchdown, interception, almost 300 pass yards. Mitch Trubisky just looked like hot garbage at 15 for 27, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 138 yards. When Kenny Pickett went out, this is bad news for them. Trubisky is just not the guy, and it shows. It definitely shows. The Jags steamroll them. ETN is still looking amazing. He led in both receiving yards and rushing yards in those categories. Deontay Johnson obviously showing some frustration against the officials after the game, but I mean, we can nickel and dime the officials all we want at this point. It doesn't mean it's going to change, and I don't know. I feel like it's almost a waste of time. And if you're one of the people who think that the league is scripted, which who knows, it might be, you still tune in every week to watch it. It is what it is, and they got to move on, take their losses, and move forward. They're not the only team that does it. Kansas City does it all the time. The Jags win 20-10, and that takes me back to 4-4. Eagles at Commanders. I win this one. I got this one right at, the 38-31 final Eagles. But nifty little tush push fumble to show that the tush push isn't as unstoppable as everybody likes to think it is. But then they come back 2 drives later and do some weird modified tush push into a play action pass. So that was pretty wicked, right? But, Sam Howell, he's showing up, man. He went 39 of 52, 397 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. It is pretty consistent with Jalen Hurts, who is 29 for 38, 4 touchdowns, and 319 pass yards, no interceptions. I mean, they hung in there for sure. I did not think that game was going to look like that at all. I actually thought the Eagles were going to just straight steamroll them. But the Commanders had the lead for a decent amount of time. And like I said, shut down the Eagles even on that goal line push. I was surprised, but still pick up the dub, 38-31 Eagles to take me to 5-4. Texans, Panthers. I lose this one because who in their right mind would have thought that the Panthers were going to pick up their first win of the season here? Stroud did not do as good as you would have kind of wanted. 16 for 24, only 140 pass yards, no touchdowns. Bryce Young looking pretty good. 22 of 31, a touchdown, 235 pass yards. Again, I just didn't think that this was going to be the week for the Panthers. I thought this was going to be a really good breakout week, maybe for Houston, a good tune-up game against a just bad Panthers team. Dead wrong. Panthers win 15-13 to take me to 5-5. On to the next is Browns at Seahawks. I end up winning this one. Seahawks win 24-20. I don't know. Again, one of those times where like PJ Walker doesn't look too good, but he doesn't look too bad. He's kind of holding consistent. They're obviously itching for Watson to come back. Geno, on the other side, to me, still looks wickedly inconsistent. He also had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Walker had a touchdown and 2 interceptions. I just don't... Both of those teams kind of confuse me. I think that the Seahawks probably should have added a little bit more depth at the trade deadline. Maybe not even offensively, but defensively. The Browns are obviously itching for Watson to come back. Kareem Hunt is still leading their rush game without Nick Chubb. I feel like everybody's still super hyped on the Browns defense, but this was probably a really good opportunity for them to show how good their team can be against a decent team, and it just did not end up happening for them. Let's see if they can rebound it out next week. Seahawks win 24-20 to take me to 6-5. On to the next one. I did not see this one coming either, but Chiefs at Broncos, and what a letdown that Kansas City offense was. Patrick Mahomes couldn't have done one thing right that whole game if you literally paid him to. Travis Kelce looks like hot garbage anytime T Swift isn't in the building, and those Broncos looked absolutely incredible. I hate to have to give them that kind of credit, but they looked like they were on fire, and finally picking up a win after 12 straight losses to Kansas City. They did everything they needed to do. Russ looking pretty good. His pass yards were low, but he didn't really need them, man. 12 of 19, 3 touchdowns and 114 yards. Patty Mahomes went 24 of 38, 241 yards and 2 interceptions. Just got outplayed. Russ didn't even need to throw for that many yards, and they still beat on him. The turnover game was not in the Chiefs' favor by any means. I lose that one because I thought the Chiefs were going to come in here and whoop them in the snow. Turns out there was no snow on the field anyway, and those Chiefs didn't even show up. 24-9 final score to take me to 6-6. On to the next one. Ravens at Cardinals. I called the Ravens. The Ravens pick up the win to move me to 7-6. 31-24 final. This is not that surprising. The Ravens are a great team. I'm actually surprised that the Cardinals scored as much as they did in general. Dobbs led the Cardinals backfield. 25 of 37, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Lamar Jackson went 18 of 27, 1 touchdown, and 157 yards. I mean, It's just they're such a good team most of the time, to be completely square. Like the Baltimore Ravens have weird little slips, but they obviously dominated the Lions last week, and then this one felt a lot closer, even though they were playing against a lot worse of a team. I still don't think that changes a whole lot. The Ravens are going to obviously make a good push for the postseason. The Cardinals need to rebuild. They're saying that it could be Kyler or whoever is left on their team. I can't remember what his name is. Going into next week, depending on Kyler's status at game time. Dobbs was shipped today to Minnesota at the deadline. The Cardinals just need to rebuild. I think that it's very evident now that they're going to be kind of in these weeds for a very long time if they don't start to use their picks properly, get some work done at the trade deadline, find some good free agents, and just rebuild the stock on that team. Baltimore, like I said, Baltimore wins 31-24, taking me to 7-6. On to the next game. Bengals at 49ers. I win this one as well. 31-17. Bengals beat the San Francisco 49ers. I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. The Brock party is over. Pack up the coolers. Take away the grills. The brats are gone. Throw them in the trash. It's just bad. Now that he's so out of rhythm, he's finally getting those losses that he probably needed to experience earlier. But when you go on almost a full season run of undefeated regular season games, it's just really tough. You can only put so much. Like, everybody wants to be like, oh, he doesn't have Debo and Trent Williams is injured. Like, yeah, but he's looked so good up until now. It's tough to just be like, oh, it is what it is. It's not. They went from looking like the number one threat in the NFC to I don't even know now. Like, I think if they keep this free fall going, they're gonna fall out of touch. They're gonna fall way back in the rankings. And if they make the playoffs at all at that point, they're gonna be playing their way through for sure. Brock Purdy went 22 of 31 with 365 pass yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Joe Shiesty comes out 28 of 32, 3 touchdowns, 283 pass yards. Joe is starting to look back to peak Joe form. That's exactly what Bengals fans want to see. It looks like that calf injury is passed over now, and Joe is returning back to that dangerous form. Who dem? They dem. The Bengals pick up the win 31-17. And I guessed that one correctly. On to the Sunday night game. So I'm sitting at 8-6. Now we're going to move it to 9-6 as I called Chargers over Bears. The Bears look like hot garbage as always. They put up 13 points total. They're back up through 2 interceptions this week. It's Baggant or I don't know. Who cares? It's the Bears. Awful. And that's coming from a Packers fan that's losing left and right at this point. 25 of 37 with 2 interceptions, 232 yards. Herbert showed up to play 31 of 40, 298 yards, 3 touchdowns. Eckler looking back to normal again. He's receiving the ball a lot. He's rushing the ball a lot. He led in both categories for the Chargers this week. The Chargers still, to me, feel iffy. The AFC West generally feels rough outside of the Chiefs, but even this week, the Chiefs felt rough. I don't know what to say about them. I think they still have a really good opportunity in front of them. I think they still have a ton of weapons. If they could just clean it up a little bit, keep capitalizing on these wins, they can make a postseason push for sure, because the rest of the AFC West is hot garbage. The Chiefs have now shown that there's chips in the armor. The Broncos can't decide if they're a great team or a scrub team, and we're going to get to those Raiders in just a second. But I called Chargers over Bears to move 9-6. Chargers win 30-13. On to the Monday night game. Raiders at Lions. I called Lions. Lions pick up the win. I go 10-6 on the week. Love it. 10-6. Those Raiders still look like hot garbage. Devontae Adams wants out, and he did not get out today at the trade deadline. They said, no, you signed up. You're sticking around through all of it. And we're going to see just how much patience that man has in the tank. He had one big pass drop And it just wasn't. The Raiders look disheveled. They look out of touch. And I think it's time for some changes to come out of them, too. Garoppolo just keeps getting rocked. At one point, they had like 4 sacks on him in a row. It's just vicious. They're getting beat up and beat down. The frustration is showing. We're on the other side of the field. The Lions look like they're going to absolutely take that division. They look vicious. Gibbs had an all-out night. Goff looked pretty incredible too. 26-37, a touchdown, an interception, 272 pass yards. Garoppolo, 10 of 21, no touchdowns, an interception, and 126 yards. You can only rely on Jacobs so much, who led both rushing and receiving for the Raiders, where Gibbs and St. Brown always kind of split the duty. Gibbs had 152 rush yards and a touchdown on 26 attempts. Just looking tip-top shape. Dan Campbell said he needed a breakout game for Gibbs, and this might have been his coming out party for sure. That wraps up this week, ladies and gentlemen. Again, 10-6. Not too bad. Takes my overall record from the last couple weeks to 16-3. I'm going to put that right here, baby. Back to a winning record. Hopefully we stick that way. Make sure you guys tune in on Thursday, as I will be doing my predictions for week 9 on Thursday. It's going to be a really good week of football again. I'm sure there's still plenty of teams on buys and all sorts of stuff. I'm betting there's going to be some really good matchups this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Takeaway Tuesday. I got myself back in the win column. How about you? Let's keep it rolling. See you guys on Thursday. See ya.